Hi. A warm welcome everybody out there on my YouTube channel. I've decided to make some videos dedicated to only one work. The Art of Fugue, the Kunst der Fuge, written by Johann Sebastian Bach. In the Bachwerke-Verzeichnis, it has the number 1080. And for this purpose, I even customized my audio logo from my channel. Difficult to say something about the amount of upcoming episodes, but let's begin and we will see. I have the desire to learn and to share a couple of thoughts about this exceptional score. One word, all the previous videos in these channels are recorded in my native tongue, which is the German language. For this purpose, for the Art of Fugue, I'll choose English, but the German auditorium will offer subtitles. But why the switchover of languages? Short in German. Ich ändere die Sprache jetzt hier für den Zweck der Kunst der Fuge. Die gesamte Reihe wird in Englisch, aber ihr kriegt Untertitel. So, back to English. Why the other language? Well, Johann Sebastian Bach himself is one of the most influential musicians of all times, and his Art of Fugue is part of world literature. So I'm on international stage where I need an international language. In our world, this is probably English or Chinese, because it's about, 1.7 billion speakers. No, regrettably, I do not belong to this 1.7 billions, so this is a detail which keep my appropriate choice, well, manageable. Okay, who am I? I'm a practical musician holding a graduate degree in Kirchenmusik, in sacred music from Musikhochschule here in Cologne. And I love coffee. That's it. If you need any further reference, I've just finished developing an Oratorio-Project here on this YouTube channel. The corresponding videos are collected in a playlist named Ein Oratorium entsteht. Originally, I'd created the scores presented in there as my form of political protest against the crimes of Tehran's authorities against the Iranian people. However, some of the movements contain pretty complex polyphony, and so in our context here, it may work as a kind of visit card as well. Back to topic. And let's start with a simple question. Why should the world need another guy talking about a musical work where so many clever people have written articles and books about? What is left to tell about a nearly 280 years old open-ended score? And do we really need the 20s or 30s or nth low-level attempt complete Bach's unfinished left work? Counter question. Why do we read Homer's works through the thousands of years? Homer, Bach, the answer is the same. All great spiritual, musical, literal works relegate over their times and regions. They are inspiring and they are invitation for every generation getting newly in touch with them. Bach's Art of Fugue is definitely one of those extraordinary works of human intellectuality and spirituality. The enigma Bach left us has always been an integral part throughout the entire reception history. So, as part of my generation, what is my motivation for these videos? Referring to the mystery around the unfinished late version of the Art of Fugue, I have found one solution. One, and just mine. Please understand me right. I'm convinced my solution has enough inner value for sharing it here. Otherwise I wouldn't produce this video. But that does not intend I would see it as irreversible or even less as eternal solution. No, absolutely not. No, I'm here for discussing my solution with people around the world who are interested in thoughts about the Art of Fugue as well. Everybody might take this journey with me. However, I assume you are at least familiar with the Art of Fugue's general background. I will fall back to the basics as far as I need them for discussing the broken end Bach left us. If you need some input about the fundamentals, you might take a closer look to the literature I'm referring to in this episode, or maybe literature in your own language. You will find my sources in the box down as well. Or alternatively, tell me if I shall make a video about the basics of the Art of Fugue or the late Bach. However, behind my answers, above all, I'm here with questions. Especially I'm asking the sophisticated musical world to examine my written solution. And please correct me. That's what I'm here. Maybe I've overseen something in the sources, or simply I do not know some meaningful results of musicological research. Of course, I haven't read everything out there. And as far as my results, or parts of them, are comprehensible insufficient, you may eventually have more suitable suggestions. If your new aspects consider to the laws of harmonics and counterpoint, they may be integrated into an alternative score, the rising to a high-level approach to Bach from a community around the world. I like the idea. Every writing and every YouTube filmmaking starts with reading. So I did, of course. And this leads to one of my central questions. What information has which severity? I do not understand how well-educated university professors and music directors are rating their material while researching about the Art of Fugue. I have prepared a little animation showing you what I'm talking about. The people inside this animation are historical. Behind Bach himself, we'll meet Anna Magdalena, his second wife, and one of his daughters, Elisabeth Juliana Friederica. She was born in 1726, and inside the family she was simply and friendly called Lieske. The whole scene is, in relation to Bach's official biography, of course, completely fictional. The thoroughly invented conversation has nothing to do with my persuasions or with my own view onto these things. No, instead, it presents a little collection of some published results or opinions about the Art of Fugue from different authors in the last decades. Often enough, they present their results in a tonality of conviction which exclude alternative approaches. Or do I interpret too much? Don't know. But however, inspired by that, I let Johann Sebastian Bach himself report the author's words. Even this little game throws some clouds over the probability of some theories as far as I see. Okay, but now have a coffee, have fun, and see for yourself.
My daughter, please, Liesgen, come in. Seems that I felt asleep, saw myself in dream, as young Scipia. A dream inside a dream, with my music, but strange, like from another century. Really curious, I assume.
That's fine. Indeed, you should rest. Father, I have a coffee for you.
Oh, that's nice, my dear. Thank you, but more than this coffee, I need candles. My weak eyes. The cataract makes life more and more harder.
Nevertheless, you've worked, I see. May I try what you've written? Ha, this sounds quirky.
Art, Magdalena, you are here as well.
That sounds strange.
Listen, Magdalena, I heard about a doctor from abroad visiting our Leipzig.
A doctor, this charlatan from England, as I heard people talking. Think about that twice, Sebastian, while I'll go for your candles. We should have some more in the board.
Sounds, don't know how, really strange. Is this a part of the fugues you're actually working on?
Well, the idea is a fugue that sounds just as somber and sometimes undecided as the beginning of the mirror fugue, starting with the soprano. But
don't get me wrong, your mirror fugues are awesome, but this one, somber, undecided, it sounds simply false.
there are still some mistakes in it. I need more candles in the night. My eyes.
Your eyes would be better without counting all these bars. And the notes?
I have assistants for counting the notes.
Johann Christoph, yes. Until last week, he counted over 800 notes in your collection of fugues. Did he, Liesgen?
That night he told me that his eyes has been felt as sick as yours.
In the night, he counted 800 notes in flickering candlelight.
901, Magdalena. There must be 901 notes in my first contrapunctus.
For heaven's sake, Who should care about 900 single notes?
That is because
One more, one less. Who should even recognize such a number as meaningful?
Liesgen, please. But, Sebastian, she is right. It's hard to bear. You are nearly blind. But nevertheless you count endless amounts of notes and bars.
Why?
3, the number of God, and 10, the number of God's righteousness. 900 is the multiplication of 3 times 3 times 10 times 10. That is the number of God and the number of his righteousness, both squared. And then the multiplication of both. 900 symbolizes God's sphere of power and is exceeded with the 1. 1 because Psalm 1 speaks of the redemption of the ungodly.
But
The whole contrapunctus 1 stands for the first psalm. Your father told me last week.
Yes, God-fearing people are like trees near a river. That's the psalm text. And here, in the fugue, spruces and fir trees are growing up. You'll see the trees even in the score. The whole group of the first 4 fugues have 372 bars. 372. It symbolizes the world of the zodiac, and, with it, the Lord's universe.
372. 12. Zodiac. Father, I don't know what.
See, my Liesgen. 3 plus 7 plus 2. The sum is 12.
And 12 is the holy number of Trinity and the tetractys, the holy 4 of Pythagoras. You told me so, right?
You got the key. God's universe, encrypted in numbers and scores.
Father, you can't write down your music if you spent your time counting bars and notes.
Johann Christoph assists me in this numerological side of the work.
But listen, why
and I
Comey's
simply need more candles. This will avoid these notation failures you just played.
But Sebastian, please, your daughter is right. You never wrote such a weird exposition of a fugue.
You're right, my dear. That's nothing for our century. Listen, the fugues all here hide a miracle. They contain the whole sums, the Pythagorean philosophy. As our friend Lorenz Mitzler always says, even in our days, Pythagoras keeps his miracle. Further generations will solve the riddles if our Lord is on their side. I have left the measure of the Lord's universal harmony in the metrics of the fugues. So now, please, with the new candles, let me get back to work and I'll see what to do.
Metrical problem. How many solve?
Still so much work to do.
Okay, so far, while our KI-generated Bach family is back to work, let's uncover the sources behind the animation's content. First, Scipio's dream from the world harmony and so on. This is told by Cicero, the lawyer and the politician and the author from the old Roman world. The Tetractys, the Holy Four, comes from ancient Greek philosopher Pythagoras. The connection from both to Bach's Art of Fugue is extensively explained by Hans Eber Dendler. The cellist and the musicologist wrote a very informed and erudite book about Bach's Art of Fugue as a Pythagorean work. Dendler published in, I think, 2004 in Schott Verlag. Then the music in Bach's dream world beginning is in principle Bach's original score, yes, but forgive me my ludic drive. I've recorded some bars of the fragment into Apple's Logic app, played them around with some of its synthesizers, and I had fun. You hopeful too, and it's just for this animation and nothing more. But next, The manuscript Liesgen played first come from author Peter Schleuning. The explanation of our animated Bach, the fugue, should sound as somber and sometimes undecided as the beginning of the mirror fugue. This special is a citation from Peter Schleuning's book himself, from his own description he gives us on page 200 and page 202 in his book. Schleuning, born in 1941, taught until retirement musicology in the University of Oldenburg in Germany. His book about Bach's Art of Fugue sums up the current state of research around Bachwerkeverzeichnis 1080, the Art of Fugue. He is, as far as I know, the only author writing more than a couple of lines about the weird botanical images Schübler gave us in the first edition of the Art of Fugue in 1751. Also Schleuning's book is recommendable in my eyes. Even it contains his trial, as Schleuning himself called the thing. Here our Liesgen played in his original. Schleuning inverted the bass from Bach's fragment aus Kunst der Fuge in the kind of mirror fugue. Same rules. The result indeed has nothing to do with somber or in uncertainty. It's based on Bach's harmonic laws. This trial is simply false. So then Thomas Daniel explains the appropriate details in his book Bachs unvollendete Quadrupelfuge, which has been released in 2010 by Edition d'Or. Thomas Daniel's publication contained his essay, his thoughts about it, then his own score, and it contains a work of merit. It's a new print inside there of Gustav Nottebohm's groundbreaking essay from 1881 about the 4 themes of the fragment in the Art of Fugue. Thomas Daniel taught harmonics, counterpoint and music theory in Musikhochschule Köln until his retirement too. And the bars at the end of our animation, Bach himself plays, these bars are taken from Thomas Daniels Vervollständigung, also completion as he calls his work. The parts of his book where he analyzes scores are well founded. Of course, exactly that has been his job over years in Cologne's music conservatory. But as many others, he writes about numbers and their Kabbalistic symbolic as well. And the 372 bar thing in our animation is adopted from Daniels book. The musicologist Walter Kollneder gave us an entire collection of material about the Art of Fugue. It's an encyclopedic book in 5 parts called the Kunst der Fuge, Mythen des 20. Jahrhunderts, published in 1977 by Heinrichshofen edition. Inside there, we meet somebody called Ludwig Prauch. Kollneder jotted down a glimpse of Prauch's thoughts on page 640 and following. In our animation we had the 900 notes increased by 1 because of the first psalm. And we had the things with the fir trees. All these ideas come from him, also from Prauch. And Prauch passes away in December 2021, so not so long ago from now. He taught in Kirchenmusikschule Schlüchtern, worked as Kirchenmusikdirektor, and was, as far as I know, accepted as authority for the symbolics in Bach works. However, after reading about this process and the fir trees, I went back to William of Ockham, the Franciscan friar scholastic philosopher and theologian from 14th century. William suggested a mental razor, a mental scalpel with two simple blades. First, entities must not be multiplied beyond necessity. And second, it is futile to do with more things that which can be done with fewer. I think William is a good companion on our way. So let him ask. William, do I need an amount of 900 plus one note to explain the first contrapunctus? Or do I need the first psalm or fir trees to understand the first contrapunctus? Absolutely not at all. However, things are going further. Crouch did sum up all the single notes of the Art of Fugue to a total of 70,000. The sense behind this number with regards to its Art of Fugue significance is not explained in Kolnider's book. Okay, and let me close with an opinion from the last calculating author in this video. In 1995, Hans-Jörg Rechtsteiner published an essay, alles geordnet mit Maß, Zahl und Gewicht. Everything ordered in number, in the measure and weight. The ideal plan of Bach's Art of Fugue. His text is published by Peter Lang, after all as part of the Europäische Hochschulschriften, it's university stuff. As far as I see, Rechtsteiner is the only contemporary author who cut off the order of the contrapuncti 1 till 11. As I started thinking about this video here, I was pretty sure being on rock solid ground, referring to the untouchability of these first 11 contrapuncti or movements in Bach's Art of Fugue. Nearly all musicologists agree with this part. Just Hans-Jörg Rechtsteiner expands the order with putting the canons between the double and the triple fugues. He does so in motu contrario, mean he sets the augmentation canon first. One reason for that is his own interpretation of pagination. One other is, guess it, numbering. Numbers, again. In his calculation, the entire Art of Fugue consists of two halves, each with exactly 1111 bars. Dear William, again, what would you say? Okay, forgetting about Bach's diabetics and his cataract here for the moment, in his late years his eyes were weak, but he was not blind until first operation in March 1750. So I may not exclude with certainty Bach should have had count thousands of bars and 10,000s of notes. Maybe Rechtsteiner and us are right, but following the advice of our dear brother William, entities must not be multiplied beyond necessity. So 272 bars or 2222 or 70,000 single notes. These are lots of necessities, I presume. Well, and to hold a long story short, in my perception, there is a massive imbalance between the use of number mythology in Bach literature on the one hand and the written sources by Bach himself on the other. In consequence, I deny the significance of the overflowing number-cabbala of so many authors, but I'm open for changing my mind if they exist direct testimonials from Bach himself. What do we really and physically have from Bach's hand referring to numbers. This enchanting and short answer, nearly nothing. As far as I know, the only place Bach really wrote something down is this number 84 you have here. What you see is the end from the Patrem Omnipotentem chorus from the Mass in B minor as Bach wrote it down in the autograph. However, it's just a naked number at all, so even here I may not completely exclude an alternative meaning, but yes, I admit, the Patrem Omnipotentem score indeed consists of 84 bars, which is the product of the basic numbers 7 times 12. Both of these numbers make sense referring to the spiritual context of the liturgical text as well. And so I have no fantasy what Bach could have meant alternatively, if not the amount of bars here with this 84. But my mind has its limits. Maybe there is something else. But please help me. As far as I know, this 84 here is the only place where Bach really wrote something about a numeric cipher. All other arguments are presumptive evidences. A presumptive evidence may be powerful. And the next hint Bach uses numbers is one of them. It's the beginning of the Credo chorus from the same work, from the Mass in B minor. I know I'm in danger producing an over-length video, but please let me take you in this context to a short excursus referring people argue with numbers. My example for this is the introduced book of Thomas Daniel, here on the left. On pages 57 and 58, the author speaks about the same credo opening of Bach's Mass. 7. So he reports stands for the 7 days of creation, or the 7 archangels, or the 7 weekdays, or the 7 words Jesus spoke on the cross, and so on. Bach's credo theme consists of 7 notes he counts, linking the theme with number ciphering. But in the same breath, Daniel himself gives a much more natural explanation. The theme itself is not invented by Bach, Daniel knows, but the theme is adopted from a Gregorian chant. Already in this chant, the beginning of the melody is made up from 7 tones. And why? Because the Latin sentence credo in unum Deum consists of 7 syllables. So if you allocate one note to one syllable, what middle-aged monks probably did, you get your 7-tone theme without any numerical mysteries. Unless the early authors from the credo text in the 5th or the 6th century already thought about the 7 Latin syllables as a symbol for the 7 days God created heaven and earth. Don't know, so it's uncertainty. No, my point is that you do not need number ciphering to discuss the theme of the credo begin. Bach's adoption of an existing Gregorian chant is a sufficient explanation. Master William probably would consider. The continuo in this chorus has a descending octave. Well, octave derived from the Latin octo or octa, and that means 8, not 7. Okay, but that's no problem. Instead of 8 tones, I may count the steps between these 8 tones, and then we have the 7 here again. And Thomas Daniel does it without any hint or explanation in a subordinate clause and continues with his arguing. I agree to him that the credo chorus of BWV 232 is highly symbolic, with the central use of the seven. Bach wrote here the only fugue in 7 voices I know in music history at all. The immense compositorial efforts are surely intended by the content, a law to create it everything in 7 days. Everything. God contains the entire universe. The Greek word for octave is diapason, the 8 tones going through the whole. Yeah, the octave. The continuum measures out the octave in the first bar, exceeds the 2 octaves during the further parts of the fugue. The symbolic of 7 voices credo chorus embedded in the never-ending and clock-like quarters from octave passing continuum. This is a powerful presumptive evidence for Bach's aim, expressing the belief in a God who created everything. So, this is no critic according Daniel's results. I agree. But it is a question to the methods he uses. Well, here he counts notes. If they don't match, he uses a step between the notes. Okay, principally, I may count everything. And then an author like Ludwig Prauch ends up with fir trees and hidden psalms. One last thing. Would you agree Bach wrote his music in terms of musical periods, often in 2/4/8 bars, and in metrical melody both? Probably you would agree, I guess. In consequence, you get a pretty high probability of round numbers. Example, the Gloria chorus, again from our Mass in B minor. You will find exactly 100 bars for the Angel Gloria exaltation. In bar 101, we come to the request for peace et in terra pax. Okay, 100 bars. They are symbolic for the Lord's world. It matches perfectly, right? In Bach's autograph, here you have it. There is no note at all, nothing, just the score. I will show you a similar phenomenon I met while writing my own score. The oratorio I mentioned above, the Songs of Names, contains a fantasy for choirs and orchestra based on Philipp Nicolai's Wie schön leuchtet der Morgenstern. Don't know English yet, it's a church song in Germany. Its context is a view on God's different images and operations. Okay, I will absolutely not compare myself with Bach. My point is something complete else. This Morgenstern chorus consists of exactly 100 bars. Here you see the particelle. I've numbered the bars and you hear synthetic recording with my little son singing the melody. Well, I know myself a bit, mostly I do, and you may trust me when I say I did not intend these 100 bars while working on them. On the other hand, the amount of 100 is no random. It is the result of the periodical architecture of the movement. I could tell the 100 symbolizes God's perfection in all his appearances. This would meet the content of the chorus pretty well. And yes, it wouldn't be wrong referring to the number mystics throughout the centuries. But in my case, that's the present. It's a gift. I did not expect it while working on the score. Okay, and Bach's Gloria chorus from B minor Mass? I don't know. I cannot ask him. You may load up the 100 bars with liturgical relevant context, or you explain the 100 bars from a technical consequence of the metrical structure of the score. And as a fact, we just have Bach's score, but nothing more. No hint, no personal letter, no witnesses, no anything at all. Or am I false? Are my informations out of date? If they are, please correct me. I don't know everything. The calculations from Thomas Daniel with the 372 bars, the mental architecture of Rechtsteiners with 2000 something bars, they may have their sense, yes. However, I miss the cornerstone of all. They build up on a ground without any sustainable fundament. Bach himself left us silence. The handwriting sources are referring to number magical artistics. They are quite as the oysters in the ocean. There is nothing in the autographs. And so even the arbitrariness of Ludwig Prauch has found its place in the wide literature of Bach research. Okay, what have we instead? Where are the limits? That's the stuff for the next episode, and there I will show you the first part from what I've worked out so far. And if you like, we'll meet us then again. Please stay healthy, have a nice time, and bye bye.